Welcome to this latest edition of the Real Deal podcast. I'm your host, Cyril Gerald Quinn, looking at another brilliant episode of the hit show, TV show Snowfall, season 6, episode 5. This episode, of course, was titled Ebony and Ivory, of course, regarding uh, Cassandra and also, of course, Teddy Mac's father. A lot happened, a lot going on in this episode. What I'm seeing, what I'm seeing as a recurring theme before we get into the actual themes of this episode, but what I am seeing, especially in the last 3 episodes, is the rewatch is much better than the original time when I watch it. It's that and like I this when I first watched this last night, um, the first watch, it was like, okay, yeah. I wasn't gonna call it a weak episode, but I've been like, it was one of those maybe episodes where you're expecting something big for next week, like a get over episode or a transitional episode. Watching it again today, in terms of prepping for this podcast, it was just another. It was the episode was incredible. Yeah, I like it because I I don't know why it's the second. Maybe this show is kind of like leftovers. Maybe you know how leftovers tastes better than the original, and that's why I mean there was nothing new that I learned watching it the second time. It was just like it was just better. Like I really enjoyed these episodes the second time around over the last 3 weeks from episodes 3 on to now 5. The second in terms of the second watch. So we get into this episode. Of course, the season is halfway over now. Amazingly, it only we are in the halfway point at halftime of the season. 5 episodes in of a 10 episode season. Of course, the final season themes for this episode to me, sins of a son. We see Teddy Max um actions cost him his father, and we'll see how that played. We saw how that played out. We're gonna of course deep dive that. Um, Also could have been another theme. Also could have been everyone's tired. Uh, in regards to Gustavo, Sissy, Gustavo's girlfriend, everybody, Jerome, everybody is tired of this life, this drug life, the CIA, the DEA, the the whole deal. Everybody is just of being the girlfriend or mother of somebody connected to the CIA or connected to the drug game. Everybody is mentally and physically just worn down from all the pressure that's coming with being connected to a Franklin or a Teddy or a Gustavo, you know, or a Jerome or a Louis. So, but the main theme was sins of a son, and we get right into the deep dive. Franklin versus Teddy. Of course, Franklin gets the drop on Teddy's father. He does this through using his girlfriend Veronique and also Cassandra. They track down Teddy's father in Kansas City. They somewhat not kidnap him, but in essence lure him out of the senior citizen home. Ted he builds a relationship with Cassandra, of course, builds a relationship with Teddy's father. You know, they're drinking, having fun, listening to music. Next thing you know, of course, Franklin uh, pulls up in about 24 hours as he has some business to take care of with Kane coming off last episode in terms of what was going to be the next move to attack Louis and Jerome coming off the hit on their lives. And of course, Kane's like, look, you're not leaving until you figure this out. Until you figure something out. Of course, Franklin has sees a picture, not a picture, but sees a television show about horses, and of course that's going to be the next move moving forward. They're gonna stalk out the horse place that both Jerome and Louis own a horse at one of the stalls, and they're gonna stalk that out. So you'll be seeing that moving forward later on in the season. But Franklin eventually gets to Kansas City, and then you see just a chilling scene, a very chilling scene, with Franklin, Cassandra, Veronique, and Teddy's father, where Franklin comes in and they're sitting on the couch. Veronique and Cassandra are sitting on the couch, and Franklin, of course, pages Teddy Mack, says gives him one more opportunity to give him his money. Teddy, of course, says, "Hey, even if I wanted to, which he doesn't, I couldn't do that. It's a process." Franklin gives him his a last warning before he in essence slices uh Teddy's father's throat from the back and watches him die. And lets Teddy basically has Teddy hear it. Teddy hears his father's last breath. Uh, and that was that. It was a very chilling scene. I don't think that either Veronique or Cassandra expected Franklin to kill Teddy, to kill his father. I don't think I think they figured he would talk to him and what have you. And I'm pretty sure that Franklin didn't tell them that this was the final part of the plan. Like I'm knowing Franklin knowing this particular character the way we've known him over the past 6 seasons. I would highly doubt that this was part of the plan that he explained to them. They both were in complete shock. So especially Veronique. I mean, the mother has looked like she's seen some shit, so she kind of didn't look that shocked or shook when Franklin killed the father, but Veronique was visibly shook, understandably so, as as the father's body dropped to the floor. Franklin burns down the house, tells him to get out, then burns down the house. Um, and that ended the episode. The only way the episode could have ended, to be honest with you. Listen, I you know I didn't think Frank. I didn't expect. I'm not certainly this is the last season, so you nothing. No one dying surprises you. So I mean, the character, Teddy's father was not a big character on the show. He's been on the show a couple of times over the course of the past 6 seasons, maybe what 3 or 4 times, if that. And we know season 6, anybody can go. Like one of the like a couple of the main characters are going to go at in these next 5 episodes. But I guess Franklin's at a place where anything goes at this point, and I guess he is so desperate. He is. I guess what you're going to see is Franklin turn darker and darker and darker. Like This is the evolution of that kid that got beat up in season 1 by got robbed of his drugs that he got from Avi in season 1 to a grown man who is a cold-blooded killer and who will kill without emotion, without this is who he is right now. And this is, I mean, he again, as he gets more desperate, he's only going to get darker and darker. Um, so I wasn't surprised by it. Now the question to me is, what was this a good move by Franklin? Like, was this a necessary move by Franklin to kill Teddy's father? Did he have to kill Teddy's father? Like, what he says basically at the end of the episode that or maybe next week they said on the preview episode that now he's going to be coming at us or coming at me like I'm coming as hard as I'm coming after him. So with everything that he's dealing with in regards to Kane, Jerome, and Louis, now he has another target on his back, having to appease his mother as well. Having to still got to appease the KGB. I mean, they're still trying to work together to get Teddy. So I guess Franklin, this is part of Franklin's grand plan. Not sure that he had to do this, but I understand why he did it. Like, I don't think that I can't think that like the rational Franklin would not have done this. Like I think Franklin seasons 2 I wouldn't count season one because he wasn't really at super kingpin status at that point. So I would say seasons 2 through 5, Franklin does not make this book. I don't believe. Like I just don't believe as you know he as careful as he is, as meticulous as he is, as pragmatic as he was, excuse me, as he wouldn't make this. Like he just wouldn't. Um, but you heard Cassandra at the beginning. You hear Cassandra in the next episode on the preview. Say basically said that saying to her daughter, "Hey, the guy is becoming unhinged. He's gone. Like he's becoming um yeah, he's losing it in a sense." And we'll talk more about that scene. We'll talk as we break down the scene, some of the scenes off some of the best scenes. We'll talk more about that. But Cassandra can see it. Um, can see where Franklin's at right now. So again, I'm not sure that Franklin had to do this, but if if he's trying to get Teddy's absolute 100% attention, he certainly has that right now at this point. And the flip side is, I guess this could fall into predictions, or not even prediction, but another question. What's the move for Teddy? Like, is it as simple as trying to kill Franklin? Like Teddy's getting again. All these characters have just so much going on. They have so many. They're getting hit from all different angles. This Teddy, with the KGB, with everything. He still has to manage Louis Jerome in terms of distribution, that shit like that. Uh, does he have to wear? Can he really come at Franklin with all he's got? Is he going to talk to CIA and say, "Hey, we gotta go after Franklin"? Like, I again, but again, Teddy is going to like Teddy is just reacting, of course, to what Franklin did to his father. But again, this was all this. The genesis of this was Teddy taking Franklin's money. Like that single move has led to just so much shit when you think about it. When you really go back and think about it, like that, you know, that led to Franklin robbing Jerome and Louis, now leading to Franklin um killing Teddy's father. So, again, and that, we saw as out of control as Franklin was this season. That move from Teddy last season was a unnecessary move that I think, if hindsight was 2020, that he would not have done. That he would not have done in the first 2 or 3 seasons himself. But again, he was coming unhinged, just like Franklin. His just came a little like basically a half season earlier. So we'll see what happens with this. It was a great scene. How this thing played out from, and you can tell Veronique and Cassandra were just master con artists. Like they played the part. They had their own surveillance. Cassandra plays the role of the con. Like it just she can sell water to a well. I mean she had the guy eating out the palm of her hand, um, and just was so into the character that she hey, I forgot to introduce myself. And just I mean she is a con, to be honest with you. I mean that's all there is to it. Best scenes, Sissy and Franklin. Franklin Scott talks to Sissy in at the homeless shelter, which of course we know was formerly ran by Alton. She of course has basically taken that over, and that's maybe what she is living for right now. Besides, obviously she wants Teddy Mack dead, but that's kind of keeping her sane right now. And Franklin, with the hit that he almost getting killed by. Well, first of all, he has a target on his back from Louis and Jerome, but he also has a target. Almost got killed last week. With all the heat he has on him, he tries once again convince Sissy to leave town. get out of Dodge, stop coming to the homeless shelter and kind of go on not on the run, but go somewhat in hiding. She's not for it at all. She says that look, they come basically. She like he does not convince her, and she basically explains to him, you know, there's no big difference between what my life was before all this drug shit happened compared to what it is now. Like the difference is not that big at all. Actually, when he brought up the fact that she said that she would have died scrubbing floors for that one guy, that one creep of a tenant, that tenant owner that owned all those tenants. I forgot the character's name because wasn't a big character, but basically she would have died just working all these crazy hours for him. And she says, "Hey, that's not ain't much different than where we're at right now." So she's not going to run, and she's been consistent right there, consistent throughout the course of the series. Her when Alton was still alive, and he tried to get them got excuse me, tried to get them to run. They didn't run, even when Franklin was in considerable danger, having a target on his back, and the kind of involvement that he was in with some of the things that he was doing. So she refuses to run. He's not able to talk her into it, into leaving it, breaking out her normal routine. Um, Jerome Dion. So of course Dion got beat up, lost the fight to Leon, and in essence, but according to him, he hasn't lost the project. Hasn't lost the projects. He took the money and all the product with him. A couple of the boys, the one guy who has a college aspiration said that he had a girl somewhere out, I believe, Linden, and that took all the projects, took the product and the money with him. So Dion, and when Dion meets Jerome at the club, he still, despite the ass whooping from Leon, still thinks that he's in charge. Says that there's not gonna be any more of Leon very soon. Let's still do business. And he completely. This is how Jerome is, his head is in another space. Completely dismisses Louis, calls her a bitch right in front of him, Jerome, and her. It got so bad to a point where Jerome had to actually ask her to leave. So, he's trying to do business. Louis says, "Hey, we're gonna, this is a business. We're gonna sell to who you want to sell to." Um, Dion, of course, was in cahoots with Jerome and Louis in terms of setting up Black Diamond in Dallas, which of course resulted in the death of Black Diamond in episode, I think it was episode 1 during the season premiere. And Jerome's like, look, after he asked Louis to leave, politely, respectfully, basically told Dion, look, this is a different breed of criminals out here. The game is different. We are a dying breed. And I kind of got flashbacks to The Wire, kind of like Marlowe's crew versus Avon. Like Marlowe Stanfield crew was that different, that new breed with no code, no respect. And the dying breed was, the Barksdales and the Avon and how they were clashing. And Jerome's trying to tell Dion, like, look, man, we're OGs here. We're not, this shit that's going on is only gonna get worse. And we are a dying breed. Like, make no mistake about it. And Dion basically says, speak for yourself. As he says, tells Jerome, basically speak for yourself. Like, I'm basically in my prime. You might be dying, or you might be part of that breed. That's not me. And he walks away. So they are basically on the outs. From that standpoint, Dion thinks that he still has a project, which he doesn't. As Leon kind of solidified that in regards to with his little, King Kong ain't got nothing on me speech. As he and Leon's all the way in now. Like there's no like um Leon's in. he's made that decision where basically he had two of Dion's boys come up and says, "Hey, we respect what you did, but what you're confusing us. You once were back to Africa, now you're knocking out Dion. Like which side of the fence are you on? Like what you gonna do? Because we about this money, we about this business. What are you? Where are you at in terms of this game?" So Leon goes outside, calls everybody out, plays the tough guy from that standpoint. Plays the I don't know if it was more about him trying to convince them or he was more about him trying to convince himself that he was back in the game. Regardless, he after that, there's no turning back. Like he's back, he's all the way back in. He tells him, after basically calling him every name in the book, he basically says, "Hey, we're gonna get back to doing business the right way," and that's it. And challenges anybody who has a problem with him, you know, step to me with a gun in his hand, of course. So Leon is all the way back in. That his whole save the community and that's done. Like he's all in. And I think what they're doing is finding a way to get Leon and Franklin back connected. That's where I think that this is going. If you remember a couple episodes ago, Franklin basically said, "Hey, either you're in or you're out. If you're in, cool, pick a side. If you're out, take Wanda and get the fuck out of here." So I think this is a way for the show to reconnect Leon and Franklin kind of like one last time. Um, as we count down to like the last 5 episodes. But Leon's back in. Dion kind of is a man without a country right now. Like I don't know what Dion's gonna do moving forward without the projects. Probably I probably think Dion's gonna get killed. To be honest with you, I think Kane probably is gonna end up get Dion get Dion. To be perfectly honest with you, if I had a prediction on from that standpoint in terms of Dion's fate for the rest of the series. Cassandra Veronique, we briefly talked about this earlier in the podcast. This is so the beginning of the program of the show. They're in the car discussing Franklin, and Cassandra basically is like, "Look, do you have an exit plan if this doesn't work? Do you have a fallback plan if this doesn't work?" I know the money is good, but he has a CIA. He's going against the CIA. Number one, and number two, I've seen these types of guys before. Even with the 70 million, that's not enough. They basically Franklin has a hole in him that he will never be able to fill. She has Franklin down cold. She's actually for all her ways of being a thief, of being a con artist, she probably clearly was not the greatest mother. This was actually Cassandra giving Veronique the perfect advice. Like she literally giving her great motherly advice from this standpoint in describing the man that Franklin is right now and in describing where he's at right now. Like she sees right through Franklin in terms of his mindset and basically tells Cassandra like, "Hey, excuse me, Veronique, like you better have a plan B or a plan B, C, and D in terms of dealing with this dude. Because I've seen this kind before." And, Veronique then gets on the defensive and, throws stuff back at her as a in terms of in terms of what the type mother she was and what have you. But she had no legitimate debate, a legitimate argument against what Cassandra was saying. Cassandra was basically spit facts about where Franklin was at in terms of his mindset. So this was a fun scene, a good scene, a great scene from that standpoint, and you saw them again working together like you know, uh, chat like Kareem and Magic, basically. Like they were working the 2-man game, two lady game, to absolute perfection. Which of course resulted in the death of Teddy Mack's father. Um, a lot of talk about should the like we so again Cassandra clearly you can't trust Cassandra. Like yeah, she's a con artist. They're both con artists. Like they're both really the same person in essence. So they neither one of them really can be trusted. Um, very interested to see Veronique's mentality now that she's literally watched Franklin kill somebody like right in front of her that she did not expect him to kill, even though she knows that he's a killer and knows what he does and who he is. Seeing that up close and personal, up close and personal has to be that is a different type of animal from that standpoint. Like seeing him that way, that's she had never seen that side of him. Or had seen him actually kill somebody in front of her. So, uh, you know, again, remember, and also remember she's still pregnant. So I think from that standpoint, that is what is kind of keeping her connected to Franklin. If that makes sense, it actually it doesn't, because she probably should take the baby and get the hell out of Dodge. But I don't know. I think Veronique is in an interesting position because she might even be scared to run. It's at this point, considering what type of man Franklin is. Like, so she really doesn't have it. Like these characters who are on the other sides of these monsters, also to a lesser extent, but you know, Oso's girl, Veronique, they even Teddy Max's girlfriend, they really don't have much like wiggling room as far as or many options, to be honest with you. They are in tough spots. You had it mentioned by also Gustavo's girl about when when he's going through what he was going through and discussing and finally came clean to her about what was going on. It says that the DA, that he was offered a deal by the KGB in protective custody and so on and so on. She basically like, hell, I'm not running anywhere. Just matching what basically what Sissy said to Franklin. Like, you're not. My life is already, you know. I don't want to live on that. I don't want to live my life on the run. I want to go back to being a normal, boring life. A normal, boring life that I had beforehand, and basically tells Gustavo, please, demands that he makes that happen for him. Which brings us to our MVP, which was Jerome. So, our man Joseph again has been on point the entire season. He's really been like he's been I would make a case he's been the MVP of the season, and he gave another just great performance in this episode as he is dealing with his own internal struggle of really again we've mentioned this over and over again, but we can't emphasize it enough of really not wanting any part of this. Like he really doesn't want any part of this, and it forces him his own kind of depression and disdain for this lifestyle forces him to make a reckless decision. He decides to leave the club, no protection from a standpoint of guards. Of course, he had the Uzi in the trunk. Had the Uzi in his car, in the trunk. But he leaves. He leaves the club. He goes. He goes out and wants to get his car fixed, tuned up or whatever. And he runs into an old friend who used to run, who named Jeff, who was played by, of course, Omar Dorsey. We've seen him in a few things, BMF, and a few movies over the last 4 or 5 years. Rising actor, rising and talented actor. Um, Jeff is living a simple life. Like he's a mechanic. He's just a family man, 3 kids, and that is the life that Jerome envies. Okay, he envies that as they talk about old times and what have you. And Jerome, that probably was the happiest Jerome has been all season. When he's drinking, he has the Crown Royal. They're talking about old times. They're talking about Lakers and the Lakers and and what have you, just kicking it. And then they see a car kind of, circle the area a couple times, and Jerome gets paranoid, of course, as he should be. And you see Jeff, excuse me, Clyde, the name of the guy, name of the character, Clyde, sees the same car a couple times. So Jerome pops the trunk, takes out the Uzi, and Clyde just the energy in terms of Clyde's energy just completely shifts and basically tells Jerome like, "Yo, you gotta get out of here. Like we can't." Everybody goes scattering, thinking that it's gonna be a potential shootout. And he tells, Clyde says, "Look, I need to make it home. Like I got people depending on me. I'm running a business here. We like I can't. This is not. I'm not about this. I'm not about this life anymore. Like I'm not. This is not who I am. Not what I'm about." So Jerome reluctantly leaves. He picks up on the fact that he never really was wanted there in the first place, as he mentions to Clyde, like, "You got like two cars here, man. What are you talking about? You backed up." Clyde probably did. I mean, Jerome, listen, Jerome's name rings out on the streets. Everybody knows who Jerome, Louis, and Franklin are and what they do. So, and Clyde being in that life, I'm sure it had people tell him, like, "Look, you heard about Jerome and you heard about Jerome and you heard about Franklin Louis, like everybody knows who they are." From that standpoint, Clyde is, again, he's a mechanic. He is trying to just live his regular life and make it home to his family. And again, that is the life that Jerome really, really wants in an intentional way. So Jerome leaves. Um, Again, Jerome was wide open. Again, I know he had a Uzi in the trunk, but again, no protection, nobody following him in terms of his bodyguards. He was absolutely in the open. For somebody to come out and try to take him out. Well, we know that was going to happen, but this is, I mean, again, we saw Franklin possibly make a reckless move. We see Jerome make an even similar reckless move in terms of being out in the open. He's drinking. He was drinking throughout the course of the episode. Throughout the course of the episode, you're chugging on a Crown Royal. You're going through something, and we know. Remember, we've seen Jerome have some struggle with mental health in the past. Like they kind of set that up in season 4. Well, no, even last season when he had to fight and broke his hand on a dude's face. Right after basically after Kane took shots at Franklin and everybody connected to Franklin. In the middle of last season. So Jerome, like similar to Franklin, is just not in a good place at all. And again, I think Jerome, like I don't see Jerome making it through the season. I just don't. I think he's gonna make a mistake. He's gonna do something. He's gonna do something desperate, do something sloppy that gets him killed, himself killed. I can't. I'll be shocked if Jerome made it through the season. I mean, when I mean shocked, shocked. Um, matter of fact, I make a prediction that he'll be the first major character to get killed, even before Teddy. And I think Teddy's going to. I think Teddy's going to go. I think Jerome is going to be the first of all the major characters to get killed. But Amen Joseph has been tremendous all season long, and he was the MVP of this season. So you had also, before we head out, you had Teddy almost kills Gustavo. Gustavo confesses to Teddy about the DEA not about the DEA, but about the fact that the KGB that he ran to the KGB dude Ruben in the bar. Says Ruben tried to offer him a deal or tried to offer him a deal, or whatever, and what have you. Teddy says, try to or Teddy wants you or was going to try to attack the warehouse to move the coke. Teddy, of course, was already on this. He was following Ruben. He says he already moved the coke. Teddy went there with the fully intended to kill Gustavo, or had the thoughts of killing Gustavo, as we saw him with that with a needle that in essence that he was going to take Gustavo out with. So Teddy, I don't Teddy Gustavo doesn't know how close he was to dying to get killed by Teddy. Um, Well, Teddy isn't fully convinced that Gustavo has turned. He doesn't know about the DEA, so that's the one thing. So he doesn't know about that. Gustavo, of course, calls off the DEA, tells them that there's not going to be any raid. That Teddy moved drugs. So Teddy doesn't know about the DEA, but um, Teddy also breaks into the KGB Ruben's place, finds out stuff about Ruben as far as his sexuality, finds out that he's gay. So he knows now that how desperate Ruben is because of the secrets that he's hiding. Of course, that was not a time that certainly it was taboo during that time for someone in any type of agency, let alone the KGB, um, let alone the KGB to have that type of sexuality. So he says Ruben is hiding. He believes that Ruben is hiding his sexuality, which makes him that much more dangerous. So we'll see how that plays out. But the big thing from that standpoint is that uh, is the fact that Teddy almost took out Gustavo, came very close to killing Gustavo. I wonder if you know if Gustavo hadn't told him about Ruben, that he met up with Ruben, I think he probably would have killed him. He probably would have killed him if he wasn't if he went had came clean about Ruben in that meeting in the bar. So we are now halfway through this season. Um, Again, the Kane Franklin stuff is still simmering. That that relationship is on edge. Of course, we're going to see, uh, Teddy's response from his father getting killed, and how that plays out. What will Veronique and Cassandra? What will be their next move? And of course, the ongoing war with Louis Jerome versus Franklin. Again, you have a number of characters who are past desperation. Franklin is past desperation. Gustavo is past desperation. I can throw Teddy in that mix. He's past desperation at this point. So you have three of those three characters, or four characters are past desperation, which is going to lead them to making just I predict a number of just bad moves by all of them. By all of them. All of them are going to make some moves that make you just shake your head moving forward. That's going to wrap it up for this latest edition of the Ril Dil podcast. I will see you next time. Enjoy the rest of your week. So long.